that takes us to Pennsylvania.
Yes. Well, Pennsylvania is very interesting. I had because I've done all these talk shows about JFK and so forth for so many years. A lot of people know me, and I had residents of the area calling me up to explain that they had told an FBI agent that they heard an explosion in the air before the plane or anything hit the ground, and the FBI would not write it down. I've had others send me letters saying that deputy sheriffs took an area to an area far outside the officially designated crash zone to look for body parts and airplane pieces, and told them that if they mentioned this to anyone, the sheriffs would deny that they said it. I've got a friend, a personal friend, who is a former Inspector General for the Air Force who used to supervise air crash investigations, who told me that if the plane had crashed the way it's described, that it should have covered about a city block. Actually, the debris is scattered over 8 square miles. And I've got another Air Force officer, a former colonel who was responsible for air crash investigations, who told me that it looked to him at the site as though someone had taken a bulldozer, filled it with litter, and blown it up.
What about the whole idea of the heroes aboard that plane?
Boy, so you right on to it now, because, during the trial that just took place of this Zacharias Moussaoui, they played a tape that was the government's official evidence of what took place on the plane, and you could hear the passengers arguing among themselves and deciding what to do. They were going to use a drink cart to try to break down the cabin door. But as someone noticed and wrote me about it, it's from the cockpit voice recorder, and the cockpit voice recorder doesn't record what goes on in the passenger compartment, so the whole thing is a fake.
Oh, my God.
Get this, the last words on the tape are Allah Akbar, meaning that these terrorists, these alleged terrorists, were claiming, God is great, God is great. I have an Islamic member of my society who pointed out that that's not what a Muslim says. His last words have to be, there is but one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet, not Allah Akbar. So whoever wrote the script for this thing didn't get it right. And here's another sign the whole thing was scripted. You're not going to believe this. If you hear the sorts of things this guy Moussaoui was saying in court, he was saying things like, make my day. He was taking the title of a Bruce Springsteen song, Born in the USA, and turning it into Burn in the USA. He was describing himself as the subject of a cyber lynching. Now, this is not a guy who was born in the United States. I don't think he spent all his time watching Dirty Harry movies. Where's he coming up with this stuff?
We're basically at a point where we're looking at a government for the first time in a really long time that just the way it's set up, the administration was able to do a lot of things that previous administrations weren't. The checks and balances system was kind of thrown out the window. And I personally ran into Bob Woodward, which was partially responsible for bringing Nixon out of office. And I asked him, I said, listen, well, how does a president get thrown out of office for a little breaking and entering, and somebody that took us to war on a set of false reasons, either he knew them or not, doesn't matter, it was war, and was involved in the torture scandals, involved in these pharmaceutical propaganda scandals, all of which are like these fraudulent crimes, the illegal wiretapping, all these things. I'm asking myself, and now we're painting this picture of 9/11, that there's no possible way that it could have happened the way they describe. And we're talking about 60-70% of the American people are actually starting to think that there's a different story. Why are we, as Americans, sitting back and letting this happen to us? I just don't understand it. So why would we sit back and let our country be defined this way?
It's scary. It looks the media has completely let us down. I mean, there's been a consolidation in the media. The corporations have bought more. The corporations are in bed with the government. We have a new form of government in effect, where it's a merge of big government with big business. It's typified by militarism, nationalism. You tend to identify the leader with the state, so any criticism of the leader is treated as unpatriotic or even treasonous. Benedetto Mussolini, the leader of Italy in World War II, described this form of government as corporatism, but he said it could also be described as fascism, what we appeared to be confronting. And Bush has now overridden 750 laws imposing his own interpretation on those laws. This administration is ignoring laws it doesn't like and not enforcing others and just going about doing whatever it wants to do regardless of the law. This is an unconstitutional form of government. These people are betraying the United States. This man took an oath to stand up for it, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And the bottom line is to him, as he was quoted as having said in a staff meeting when some members of his staff pointed out that some actions he was contemplating were in violation of the Constitution, he said, "It's just a goddamn piece of paper."
And I want to come out right now and say that I am not for a Democrat or for the Republican Party or either party. I believe in human beings. I do not want to come out and say, I want to make this clear right now and say that I don't hate Bush because he's Republican or only want Democrats to be in office. I believe in people. I believe in the idea of America being what it was set out to be, and this great experiment to better mankind. I'm truthfully baffled that hundreds of millions of people will sit around and let this happen to us, and this has got to be one of the worst times in our history as a nation, and we're sitting back and letting it happen. And as a musician, I travel around the world, and I have never encountered so much anger and resentment and just disappointment all around the world, where just a few years ago it was completely opposite. So I think that this is a huge challenge for Americans to not let them be defined this way, and to actually stand up and do something that can not only better our own life but better the world, because we have such an opportunity to do such wonderful things. And I'm saying again, there's probably 100 different Republicans that I would vote for, as well as Democrats. This isn't about the red or blue. This is about this administration being involved in something that is really, really scary and really, really dark and deceptive. And the stuff that you're saying, I'm blown away. And I've heard you say some of this before, James, but
You're right on top of it. I mean, if there were any justice, this man would have impeached long ago. The problem is we have one-party rule. What we have to do is get rid of all the Congress, reconstitute it completely, get rid of all the Democrats, all the Republicans, put in people who aren't contaminated, who aren't corrupted, who aren't under the thumb of the lobbyists to get things cleaned up. And the only way we can do that is by getting rid of electronic voting machines, which have been used by one side to steal election after election since 2000. In 2000, 2002, 2004, they used those voting machines to steal our elections right under our nose. They learned a lesson from Joseph Stalin, the former dictator of the Soviet Union, who said it doesn't matter who casts the votes, what matters is who counts them.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I think that in this city, this interview and these words are going to echo for quite a while, because I think the people listening to this weren't truly prepared to hear this, and they weren't expecting to, and they don't ever set the time to go research stuff like this. Why don't you, again, give your name and your website and point some people in a direction to really learn more about what's going on, and for once, stand up and do something about it. You know, I that's the thing that, you know, what blows my mind more than even the whole 9/11 thing is the fact that Americans are letting Bush maintain that grip on power, are letting our country still. We're talking about going to war in Iran now. I mean, how scary is that?
I know, it's insane. We're in the grip of a small clique of so-called neoconservatives who are betraying the principles of this country. Anyone who wants to see the scientific studies, the objective evidence that supports the remarks I've been making about what happened on 9/11, go to the Scholars for 9/11 Truth website, st911.org. You'll find all kinds of stuff. You'll find documentaries, videos, audio recordings, photographs, everything you could possibly want to understand what's going on here. I invite you to go to st911.org and find out what's been going on to your country since 9/11.
Well, thank you so much. You have a wonderful day, and we are going out as well. And until next time, I'm going to track you down and get you on some more radio stations. I think this is the new way.
It's fantastic. Great idea. I love it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Bye.